as we move forward, we're going to do one customs with analysis game, and just sort of look and talk about the way you make in-game decisions, moment to moment.
Well, I think this matchup's fun. Both of these decks, obviously both of these classes are a little bit out of the meta, or quite a bit out of the meta, especially the mage. But we've both kind of, it's just kind of been interesting how the game's progressed. Mage is still one of my favorite classes. It kind of always has been. I still actually actively play the mage on ladder. So there's a lot of unique decisions that I make with this class. And I know you've got the same thing going with the shaman.
Yeah, absolutely. So specifically, since we've been talking about mulliganing versus mage, do you want to talk a little bit about what you think is important here? Because I have some ideas as I've played a lot of mages, but I still feel like because the meta shifted with mages, it depends on what mage you're dealing with.
Yeah, absolutely. Here, it's not necessarily as important. The axe and the rockbiter aren't really as important for you to have. A rockbiter can be nice. A rockbiter can deal with something like a mana worm that's brought out on turn 1 or something. Yeah. But beyond that, most mages aren't going to have too many 2 health minions, so to speak. Ironically, my mage kind of does have a couple in there, but most that you're going to be seeing will ultimately run into like the Chillwind Yeti range and the range with Boulder Fist Ogre and then of course Water Elemental. Those are the minions that you're ultimately going to be having to deal with.
Yeah.
So a Hex is also not bad to keep in the back pocket, kind of like a Druid, but it is definitely not required. I think in your situation here, I would keep either the Rockbiter or the Hex. I would not keep both of them because you are going to need to put your own pressure on. You are going to need to get minions on board.
Yeah, and I think in particular Stormforge Axe is bad because it's taking a bunch of damage to my hero, and you don't want that. So I'm going to get rid of I'm going to keep the Hex and get rid of the other 2. See what I get. Hope I get lucky here. I got a Defender of Argus and a Drake. So those aren't the best cards, but certainly I have the opportunity to taunt up some totems. And I got an Unbound, which isn't bad. So I'm starting to get to the lower part of the mana curve. At least I didn't get Alakir.
Right. Yeah, that's not too bad. Again, you're not generally worried about too much super hyper early aggression. There are a few mages that do that, but for the most part, this mana worm will be kind of a tricky thing for you to deal with.
Yeah, absolutely. So in this position, you generally want to play out your Unbound. You might consider a Harvest Golem if you've got it. What would be really great is if I had a Lightning Bolt, which I don't, but maybe I'll draw into it. Unfortunately, I am hitting generally the higher part of my mana curve here, giving me a slow start. But as you can see, I haven't even taken a point of damage yet, so it hasn't been crucial. It hasn't killed me yet.
Absolutely. I think that's definitely the play you want to go with. I do have the toolkit to deal with it, but there was nothing, no other stronger move option for you there.
Yeah. The coin's nice there. So, this is hexable. You might not want to do it. Right now I'm going to probably play my Unbound again, although it will not trade well to your 3/3. Bringing out my Defender doesn't do much either, because then it just dies immediately. This is either an Unbound or a Totem Pass or possibly a Hex.
Yeah, it's definitely a rough situation. The good thing is my 3/3 doesn't kill it off straight up. However, my 3/3 with the hero ability does.
And then mine doesn't die.
Yeah, and it still leaves one on board.
I think you've got a Hex here.
Yeah, it's a brutal situation. You also want to keep in mind that turn 4 is coming up.
Yeah.
And on turn 4, I will be, as a mage, looking to play something like a Water Elemental or a Chillwind Yeti.
Yep.
So using a Hex right there is an unfortunate situation, but you don't want to let Mana Worms run wild on you. I've had several games where that just happens and you win outright just because the Mana Worm wasn't dealt with.
That might be a good argument for why you would want to keep that that Rock Biter.
Yeah, the Rock Biter. Rock Biter over the Hex, as we've played this out, I think generally would be a better situation, Rock Biter or Lightning Bolt, just to deal with a Mana Worm in the early game.
I think I'm going to stall here by playing a Totem and a Defender of Argus, and then next turn I can Unbound and Feral, buffing my Unbound, getting some Taunt on board. And I'm at 27 health, so I'm not going to take critical damage in a turn.
Yeah, that's not bad. Of course,
actually, wait. I'm one mana shy of the.
Yes, you are.
Defender.
What do you have? You do have. You have a Drake. Unfortunately, the Drake does trade with the Water Elemental.
That actually is fine with me, I think, at this point, because I'm not looking to do AoE right now.
Right. It cycles a card. It's not bad, and it draws. It draws me away from your face. I'm not hitting your face, which is what you want as a shaman. You don't want me hitting that face in the early game.
Also, it gets you down to 2 health, which I have a variety of spells and minions that can deal with it if I get them.
Absolutely. And seeing that you also have Feral Spirits, you can get it down to 2 health and then protect up with a Feral Spirit. And losing 1 out of the 2 wolves to trade down is not bad.
Yeah. Yep. Another Mana Worm. Draw some cards, buff up the Mana Worm. Goes for the trade, freezes, and Arcane Missiles, buffing up the Mana Worm even more. Very strong turn. You can see I'm very behind because of that early Mana Worm play. But I did draw into a Lightning Storm. So,
which is absolutely perfect. You're guaranteed to kill everything but the Mana Worm, and you could try to totem into it, although I don't know if that is absolutely necessary.
Well, the other thing is I have a Rock Biter, which can kill it, but then at the same turn, I also have a Feral Spirit. So I think what I'm going to do is, since I'm at 25 health, this is a little risky, but I think I'm going to Unbound, buffing the Unbound, and I'll deal with that stuff later.
Yeah, absolutely. I like that choice a lot. You still have the chance of flat out clearing board, a 50-50 chance there. And if you do, then you're left with a great 3-5 and a clear board.
And again, it takes you 2 additional damage to clear my Elemental, and still you're not hitting me. So this is not perfect, but being against a mage with 25 health on turn 7, there are way worse situations, especially with how slow my hand has been. This is how you make the best of a bad situation.
Right, and I mean, I still do get to get the kill.
Yeah,
However,
yeah, you do.
We're on even footing now. That's still okay for you. We're on even board, and we're getting to the late game. Mid to late game here, where you can really start to shine.
So I've got Defender of Argus, Gadgets in, which I'm going to keep for my card draw. Alakir can't play. I can bring out a Feral Spirit. I've got a Rock Biter, and I've got a Blood Mage. I feel like it's Feral Spirit Totem.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we are approaching turn 7. However, a mage is going to be really hesitant to just use their whole turn 7 just to kill off Feral Spirits with a Flame Strike.
Yeah.
A mage would be hopefully wanting to get a little bit more value out of that. So I think even if you brought out Feral Spirits and you got hit with a Flame Strike, you would be just fine with that.
It's 7 mana versus 5 mana, basically.
Exactly.
It's totally fine. And you want to, before you ever play an Overload card, see what your next turn is. So I'll have 8 mana minus 2. So I'll have 6 mana. I can certainly play Gadget Zen and a spell. I can certainly play a Defender and a Totem. So it seems like a good play. And now I'm at 25 health to 30. We're roughly even on cards, and I'm not in and around death range, and I just got to stay there. stay up with my health.
Absolutely.
One down. And one down. So this is good, actually. This is a really good turn 6. I can bring out either my Blood Mage and Defender or Totem and Defender. And I feel like Totem and Defender is fine. Save the Blood Mage for spell damage. The only question is, what is that secret? So I've played a minion. No, I haven't. I played a spell. So it could be... well, no, it can't be Counterspell. And it can't
be counterspell. There's a possibility of spellbender,
right,
which you see a little bit crop up.
Yeah.
But now the things that you're worried about are things like Mirror Entity,
yep,
and things like
Ice
Block, and Ice Armor.
Yeah.
So most likely, it's going to be like an Ice Block or a Mirror Entity.
And a Mirror Entity is not super scary because I'm not bringing out Alakir or a Fire Elemental. You want to proc it with something like a Defender of Argus.
Absolutely. And unlike a Hunter Trap where you would want to test the trap beforehand,
right,
here it's not going to be something that's doing 2 damage to all your minions, so it's okay to test the trap. If that happened to be Vaporize, which is the last trap it could be, your wolf was going to die no matter what. So you might as well give it that extra point of attack before testing it out. And that's really strong. You do actually put the put enough pressure on at this point to where
Flame
Strike comes out. But again, you lost half of a Dire Wolf, a Totem, and a Defender of Argus there.
Yeah.
So still really strong position for you.
If you think about it, your 2 cards, your Frostbolt and your Flame Strike, got rid of my 2 cards plus our hero powers, and that's a better trade for me right now.
Absolutely.
If you were near lethal, I could Alakir and Rockbiter, but since you're not, it's going to be more like a Harvest Golem, Totem. Probably keep the Blood Mage out because I've got the ability to do some spell power here, and I want to save the Gadget Zen to when I can cast some spells. Usually 2 spells are what you'd really like. 2 is kind of the... One's okay, one's the minimum. 2's good. 3 or 4 spells with Gadget Zen drawing 3 or 4 cards is incredible.
Absolutely.
And I finally am starting to get some cards that are better. I have 10 mana, so it's either Alakir, Rockbiter for just some crazy damage, just Alakir and a Totem to just get him out there, or Fire Elemental. And I feel like both do their 3 damage with protection, so I kind of feel like Fire Elemental is a better card to play here. It's got more health. Oh, excuse me, it doesn't have more health. It's got more attack right off the bat. But I could kind of see an argument for either one here.
Yeah, against a clear board, I think kind of slow and steady. There's no need to bring out your Alakir right away. You kind of do want that to be the ultimate finisher. And I mean, you're in a really great situation. I've got, nothing on board, so you're able to do 3 damage, and you've got, another 2 damage, so total 5 damage, and you're threatening a guaranteed 8 damage even before you play your next turn.
Yeah, and I've got plenty of removal here. Like, I don't have an incredible amount, but I certainly have a good enough amount with my minions on board. Swamp Ooze is great, and that's kind of... I would call that kind of a desperation move, throwing out a Swamp Ooze like that. You know Shaman has weapons, you want to save it for him, but you just don't have another choice here.
Absolutely, yeah. If you're seeing stuff like the Swamp Ooze come out without it killing a weapon, then you've got the mage on a back foot.
Here's a key turn right now. So you can play the Drake, draw a card, and kill that with an Earth Shock, this Ooze, but what you really want to do is the Gadget Zen, the Blood Mage, the Earth Shock, and the Rockbiter. If you can draw into another spell, you might not play the Rockbiter, but at this point, saving the Rockbiter for Alakir, while good, 6 extra damage, is also going to net you another card. So I'm going to, first things first, play Gadgets in. I'm going to bring out the Blood Mage, ensuring that I kill the Acidic Swamp Ooze. I'm going to draw a Flame Tongue, and so now the question is, I can get 4 extra damage with the Flame Tongue going between my Harvest and my Stone Claw, also kind of filling up my board a little more. Or I can Rock Biter. And this is a situation, I'd love to hear your opinion. I would Rock Biter because Gadgetzin could get killed, and Flame Tongue makes a more juicy board to be removed.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, the things to keep in mind, of course, are you've seen one Flame Strike. There could be 2. Most mages just run 1, but there always could be 2. And if you filled it, with another minion, the Flame Tongue, that's a really, really juicy Flame Strike board right there.
Yeah, and I'm also concerned with you having Fireballs to just wipe out my Gadgetzin straight away.
Absolutely. So I think, going ahead and getting that extra 3 damage and getting that extra card,
Perfect.
You might as well keep pressing the advantage. You've got massive board advantage. You might as well not give away card advantage.
And I think I got a Lightning Bolt for 4 damage. I think I'm going to do it. I don't really see the reason to not put the damage and draw more cards. I mean, these are cards I'm going to be able to get later, but I don't see a reason why not to play this card right now and draw another card.
No, I think it's pretty good for you. I mean, you're whittling me down. You're getting me into lethal range. And you're cycling through those cards, which you could draw into another Rock Biter. You could draw into another Fire Elemental. You could draw into a Hex, which is kind of one of your weak points right now.
Yep.
You don't have that.
And I drew into a Hex, so it was 7 extra damage, and I got the cards, and I'm basically 1 behind in cards because you just drew, but I've got a Hex, I've got a Flame Tongue. You're getting rid of Gadgetzin, just as I predicted. That's 6 damage not to my face. So Gadgetzin's got his value, and now I get a card with a Blood Mage. Sorry to interrupt.
No, absolutely. I think that was definitely well played for that situation.
Another thing to bear in mind is that you've got a Flame Tongue totem which pairs with Alakir, so the Rock Biters are not the only way to buff Alakir.
Absolutely.
I think I'm going to continue pressing, and I've got the Azure Drake, but I'm good in cards right now, so I feel like a Fire Elemental is a perfectly good card, and a Flame Tongue to get some extra damage on board is really solid.
Yeah, and I mean, and now at this point, you've played enough things. You know what this secret is. You know that it's the 1 extra turn. So yeah, keep whittling me down. If you can get this, secret broken before I can actually clear your board, well then that's just it. That's game over. And you put yourself in a real good situation to do so.
Yeah, and oftentimes versus a mage, if I was at like 15 health or 18 health, I'd be in a race. But you have to think about it as if you're in a race in general as well, because the way it works with a mage is they do have ability to do massive amounts of damage and hold your board off. So you know, I've got a clock. I only have a possible 6 healing if I had 2 Earthen Rings, but I don't, so I have 0 healing in this deck.
Right, and you've really got the mage on the back foot, and that's like knowing what you have in your hand. That's exactly what you want to see. You now know I've used both of my fireballs and both of my pyros. So guess what reigns supreme? It's going to be Alakir from here on out.
Also, you mean both of your polymorphs, right? You said pyros, but
sorry, both of my polymorphs.
And what's awesome about well, I mean, actually, I wouldn't use Alakir here, and the only reason is because I can actually do 4 damage and proc your thing without him. So while he does reign supreme, and I will bring him out, I can, with my Stormforged Axe and my Stoneclaw, proc this secret. So there's no need, because no additional damage can be done to you this turn.
Absolutely, and you might as well get an additional card with the Drake in your hand.
Yeah, I'm okay with that. With Alakir, I'm okay with that. And it's a 4 health minion, difficult to deal with. I'm going to bring out a Totem, and I can bring out a Divine Shield Argent Squire, which actually is okay. That might be just what the doctor would have... I will save it here, because I've got plenty on the board right now. You don't want to overextend. So I will save the Argent Squire. It doesn't matter, but...
I think personally, it doesn't really matter, but personally, there's no real need to save it. I mean, if it gets wiped, it gets wiped. I mean, you've got the Axe on board. You just need to push for 2 points of damage. You've got Alakir in the bag.
Yeah, you're right.
Yeah, there's no real need to save it. It's just another thing that I would have to deal with. Most likely on ladder or whatever, this would have been conceded by now because it's been a dominated matchup. I will at least get to play one card. Put that axe in the museum.
Okay, Dr. Jones.
And we're going to. This was really interesting draw on my part, but that does not negate the play on yours. Let's see if I can actually force you to use alligator. Force you to use alligator.
I love it.
My shield for Argon.
Okay, we won't force you to use the alligators.
Well played, well played. So, do you want to talk a little bit about your hand as we close this segment out? What was going on in that hand?
For sure. The strength of this deck is actually through some of its early game minions, early game spells, which technically I did not draw into. It's got a really, really strong late game. This mage is unique in the case that it actually doesn't push those mid-game minions like Boulder Fist Ogre and like Shilwyn Yeti. I rely on early minions, early spells, which we got a little bit of early on at the game, of course, with the Mana Worm, and as it played out, hexing that Mana Worm early out, really, brilliant move right there. That really did swing the game in your favor.
Yeah, and it wasn't like it was gonna kill me, but it would have changed the dynamic. It would have really hurt and continued to be a nuisance, and I didn't have any answers.
Absolutely, and where the deck I was playing with shines is it does actually run Alex Straza, so I've got that secret for the extra life, and Alex Straza normally actually gets played defensively. It's actually a very controlling, stalling deck to try to buy me more turns, and then the crutch on that is I am running Archmage Antonitis, and you saw me unload a bunch of one-cost spells there at the end. I am actually looking to do something like bring down Mage Antonitis and get those value fireballs right up into the hand with things like Ice Lance that not only get me fireballs, but they lock down your minions, making it very difficult to deal with them in the
Absolutely.